Hi everybody, it's the CC and JT Amateur Hour. Production values go to die over there, CC.
And over there is JT.
And welcome to Sunday, June. Oh, Jesus. Okay, take two. Anyway, welcome to Sunday, November 10th, 2024. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, set aside for those, those who actually, sacrificed.
Yes, but, I'm just pointing at your Air Force hat.
Yes, but it's the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day is those who paid the ultimate sacrifices. So we remember them, respectfully. And Veterans Day is a 3-day weekend. So, okay.
Going to get some pushback on that one.
Yeah, we'll probably get some pushback from that one.
Grizzled old veteran over here.
That's right. So, our website at www.carsonu.com. Go ahead and never mind.
Have a talk to JT.
Oh boy. Okay, we hope that you're having a wonderful November. Bite of winter in the air.
Obviously.
Yeah, we've been hitting some cold weather here recently. No snow down here. We've had a little flakes and stuff like that, but we've seen. Yeah. We've the area of ski resorts are starting to think about opening. Yay, good for them.
And the leaves have fallen, so we can see the mountains again, and we can see the snow to the west of us.
So it's pretty cool.
Yes.
So as we do with this podcast, what we're trying to do is we're trying to help writers write, and it's an award-winning podcast. We have to say that every single time now. It's an award-winning podcast. Woo! And very proud of CC for winning an International Podcasting Award. It's fantastic. Congratulations again.
It was exciting.
Yeah, I have to say that if I want to get. Never mind. We're not going to talk about. We're not going to say that.
Somebody's waking up.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're going to podcast from the couch now, or the doghouse, or something. Okay. Yeah. So, so we are writers of a certain age. We're self-published, and while we have not had any particular financial success, our books are out there. We're chugging away at our books. And what it is we do this journey because we want to help writers write.
Yes.
Learn from our mistakes and learn perhaps from our experiences, and hopefully give you a small boat to travel in as you do your own journey, knowing that you are not alone.
Right.
We know, we can tell just from our followers, thousands of followers that we follow, not people, thousands follow us, people that we follow. That everybody's struggling with this writing thing in this atmosphere. So,
yes.
What we're trying to do is we're just trying to give some ideas.
Yes, and the our idea for helping writers write is that we just talk about some of the things that we have learned along the way that maybe you shouldn't try, but we're also hoping maybe to share some of our successes when we get to that point. We're, as JT said, not a financial success yet, still hopeful for that, but we're going to continue on this journey. We enjoy doing this podcast and our award-winning podcast, but it's a chance for us to sit down and kind of reflect on what we've done throughout the week, talk about what we're doing, and we bounce ideas off of each other too. So you're kind of seeing a couple of writers working in real time right here.
Yep. And the subtext to our podcast is always where production values go to die. All we got is a camera, all we got is a microphone, and all we got is a computer. We don't have really any, shining production. We have a light, but we don't have any shiny production values because it's just.
We're trying to keep it simple because the more we try to upgrade what we're doing, and we are still trying some new things, but the more we try to upgrade, it causes more problems because everybody knows the more technology you use, the more things are going to go wrong.
Yeah, and more complicated things are unnecessarily. So very briefly, we do a quick update on our individual status, our individual projects, and then we dive into the subject of the podcast. So bear with us. And the first thing that we say that we're working hard together on is we're working hard on doing an LLC.
Yep.
for our business, and it's not really. You don't need to do an LLC to be a writer. You don't really.
No.
No, you don't. No, you don't need to do one. But it gives us a feeling of organization. It gives us a feeling of authenticity. It makes us feel legitimate.
Yes.
And yeah, it's going to cost some money, but that's that's just to be expected. You don't get nothing for free.
Right.
But we want an LLC because we just want it. It gives us a feeling, of organization.
We also have some plans moving forward. Right now, we are busily writing our own books, but going forward, we may branch out a little bit, and having the LLC, having something formal in place will probably make it easier for us to follow those plans that we have. So throughout 2025, you'll be seeing more book releases from the two of us, specifically me, because he's a writing machine. He's working on his Serving Salvation universe, and there will be quite a few more books coming out in that universe, basically. But I've just started a 6-book series, and I'm hoping to release at least 1 or 2 of those this coming year. And I will have another one. So one series will be paranormal romance. The other one will be a historical fiction, and it will be based on my hometown and some of the things I learned in my previous job. So we have a lot of interesting things coming up.
Yeah, and if you the Serving Salvation, their book 1 is already out, and it's out there for you. And for the pardon me?
Don't forget the cover.
Oh, yeah. And the cover and all that. And, the cover contest. I've got a cover contest going on in 99 Designs. Really could use some love. Mm-hmm. So if you are a designer or know designers, please, help out a brother.
Yes, go to 99 Designs and see what JT has going on out there. Yeah. And if you're interested, submit a design. We love doing these contests. It's so much fun to see what people do. And it can be a way for someone to get their work out there into the public. So.
Yeah, and I'll put a link to the design in today's blog post.
Yes.
And as for the LLC, keep an eye on our website that we set aside just for that at twomorebooks.com. Mm-hmm. More obviously being MOORE, twomorebooks.com. And you'll see, right now there's nothing out there. But as it grows, you'll see a business appear.
Yes.
And,
so follow along. I mean, if you want to watch a kind of a reality show in real time, here we are, unscripted, just trying to figure out things as we go. So follow along.
And I have an odd request. Yesterday, 2 books of mine got sold, which is cool, just out of the blue, which is so sweet. And the weird thing, the unsettling thing is when somebody out of the wild buys books and you don't know who they are, because often, as we all know, the first people that buy books are family and friends.
Right.
But somebody bought the Sheriff's series, both books from the Sheriff's series in paperback, which was so awesome. Oh my gosh, but creating paperbacks is so much fun. And so if you are that person, if you could reach out through social media, I'd sure like to talk to you to see what's going on there. I'm wondering if it's another library or something like that, because I'm on the 3 shelves now, and so it's very cool. And if it's another library or a bookstore, we will be happy to plug you.
For sure. And that's true moving forward, too. Anytime someone purchases one of our books, it's not necessary, of course. We would love a review. Reviews are awesome.
Oh, reviews. Please review.
If you can at least review, that would be great. But if you'd like to reach out to us, and specifically, if maybe you're a fellow author and you're checking us out, just let us know, and we will, we'll promote you if you're a bookstore, an author, or something like that. So we're happy to do what we can to help others try to do, follow their dreams as well.
Yeah, we're not at the point where we can have other people on our podcast because we haven't figured out the technical stuff on it. And also, we're in a remote corner of Nevada for all intents and purposes. So,
So we'll have to figure out how to do remote podcasts, which is going to be a challenge. But maybe in the future, we have had some people reach out to us. And at the moment, we've had to turn them away. But hopefully in the future. And we have some travel plans, too. So, maybe once we do start traveling, we can meet up with people along the way and do remote podcasts that way. But that's, again, in the future, some of our big future plans for our business.
Yep, 2025. So keep an eye on it. So 2025 is going to be exciting between our business, the buttload of books we're going to release, and the travel plans. So we're going to have some fun.
Yes. But we always have fun.
We always have fun. We always have fun. Don't we look like we're having fun? Okay, so let's talk about today's podcast. And If you have been following our podcast lately, or if you're new to the experience, you may have noticed recently that we've been talking about the end of the process of writing a lot, because we have been at the end of the writing a lot. We've been talking about a lot about, things from book covers to, just basically end of the process.
Promotion,
Yeah, the business side, the end of the process kind of stuff, and and that's fine, because when we did the TV show, was not last week but the week before,
yes.
we did, that's something that we talked about, is that when people pick up a book, what they're seeing is the tip of the iceberg. They're seeing the end of the run, or however you want to see it. And that's why this podcast exists, is because we want to talk about everything that's out of sight. That's everything that's below the waterline. And so we're going to go way below the waterline, and we're going to talk about something really interesting, which I think is one of the hidden reasons why we write.
Mm-hmm.
Writers write for many common reasons.
Yep.
We have stories to tell. We want to have a book that we can hold in our hand, like the microphone stand here, things like that. But we write for various reasons. But I thought today would be an interesting podcast if we talked about an weird reason that we don't write. Maybe not weird, but unusual. And with that setup, Cece, do you have an unusual reason? Other than, to see your name in lights and, get the rich and famous contract.
That used to be my end goal, as a young adult, when you just kind of want to get out there in the world and make your mark. But actually, as you brought this up the other day, I've been thinking about this a lot for the last few days. Why do I write? What drives me to write, even though, as we've mentioned, we're not financially successful by any stretch of the imagination. And that's really not the goal here. The goal is, and I think maybe JT may be on the same page with me on this one, you get an idea. Something in the world catches your imagination. You see somebody in a certain situation and you go, oh, what is the rest of the story behind that? So really what my thought is, and I don't know if this is actually unusual, but I write to make sense of the world, basically. So I will sit down, and if there is something that happens that I find particularly interesting, or that I don't quite understand, I can't quite put my finger on why something has happened a certain way, then my mind goes to work trying to fill in the gaps, and that becomes a story. So just, randomly walking down the street, you see a dog or cat, but then a second later, the dog or cat is gone, or you see it again. That was a plot point in the Matrix. There was a glitch in the Matrix because of I think the cat disappeared and reappeared or something like that. So, that may have been how something like that came to be in a story. And those are the reasons why I write, because when I go out in the world, I'm curious about people. I'm curious about events. I'm curious about the past. I'm curious about where we're going. And all of this kind of works together in my brain. And by sitting down to write things out, hopefully in a manner that makes sense, that's why I write. I'm trying to figure out the world.
Mm-hmm. And that's completely valid. But what's funny about you saying that is that when you write, though, you're not writing about the world outside. You're writing about a world that you're creating,
yes,
that borrows elements from the world outside.
Right.
So how does that affect what you're doing? Does that so you're saying that you're writing a story, and
mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure if I know where I'm going with this.
I think I can see what you're trying to say.
So save me here.
So I'm doing a fictionalized version of whatever I've experienced,
mm-hmm.
or sharing someone else's experience as fiction. And I think it may be me interpreting the way it happened. Mm-hmm. So that's the fictional part, is it did happen, but it didn't happen quite the way I present it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I'm presenting it the way I hope it would have happened. So currently I'm writing books where there are large elements of the story that take place in the past. There's a lot of backstory. And looking back at historic events, which I do quite a bit, I'm looking at, I know how the situation may have turned out. or how it appears to me to have turned out, because everybody experiences things differently. So when I write it out, even though, it happened a certain way, I may not write it that way. So it may either be me wishing it had happened another way, or me trying to figure out what made it happen in that way. And that's where the fictional elements come in.
And that's the fun part of writing, is the world building.
Yep.
It's the world building. Even though you are, we'll just pop a percentage out there. You're borrowing 90% from the real world.
Right.
It's that 10% which is driving you.
Well, honestly, 100% of writing comes from the real world,
Mm.
because all of us write what we know.
Mm.
Even if you're writing something like your science fiction universe, the characters and the way they respond to the events in your story and to the environment around them is based on reality. So I don't think we really make up anything.
Mm-hmm.
It all comes from little bits and pieces, and what we're doing is we're cobbling them together in different ways.
Yep.
So everything, even fiction, is reality, but it's our reality.
Mm-hmm.
So there's conversations going on about that right now, but it's like we write based on our experience.
Okay. And, and as Mark Twain famously said, fiction has to make sense. It has to make sense, whereas as truth or as a reality does not have to make sense, which obviously is
well, the one caveat to that is there are stream of consciousness books, which may not make sense, and that's because it's basically whatever is going on in your mind at the moment you're writing, and that can be really hard for people to read. So in order for your writing to reach the largest amount of people possible, you try to find commonalities between your experience and theirs and invoke things in your reader. They may have seen something happen out in the world and go, oh, that sounds familiar. This is intriguing. And this is why readers and writers connect, but not all readers and writers connect, because everybody has a very specific worldview, and we're drawn together with people who share similar experiences. And that's where and actually that's kind of just occurred to me. I mean, obviously we have to find our commonalities, and when you're writing to an audience, you're writing to an audience of people that are probably similar to you in some ways, and you want to help make them feel better, or you want to invoke a specific feeling in them. So, that's why I do what I do, because sitting here thinking about it, obviously my mind is working as if we're talking this out, and it's fascinating to think about maybe someday somebody reading this and they're going to interpret what you wrote in a certain way with their own background. And literature classes, for example, they're always talking about, well, the author meant this. Did the author really mean that? No, but this is the way the reader took it.
Yeah, the purple curtains.
Yes.
The reason that the curtains are purple is because they're purple.
But, the color purple means something, and they're closed, and it's dark, and, so famously, the author may have meant something completely benign by a small element of their story that someone else picks up and says, oh, this is a shining beacon of what this story means.
Well, literature teachers are famous for, looking for those hidden meanings, and they figure that if the writer is going to take time to mention that the curtains are purple, there must be a reason why the writer did that. And they, and it may just because, well, if you look over my shoulder there, we've got purple curtains.
Right.
You just hung them because you just hung them up.
And that's been a lot of my writing, is like you just throw something in there because it's something that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
And then, the reader, that may be something that they're completely unfamiliar with, so it stands out to them. And that's a whole different story. But basically, to boil it all down, TLDR at this point, is I write to try to make sense of the world.
Yeah. And that's all fair, especially in the world today. It's a crazy place. And this is a political free zone, folks, so if you feel comfortable here, we're not but
we may not overtly discuss politics, but nothing is free of politics.
Yeah.
So.
And as somebody mentioned, one of my beta readers mentioned is I like putting politics.
Yes.
But it's all fictional politics in my book, so it's all.
However, we have worked in government agencies. I actually ran for office at one point. We have been on the periphery of politics. So we do have familiarity with it,
Mm-hmm.
and helping people make sense of that is helpful too.
Yep, and that experience ends up in our books too,
Yeah.
because running for office, I was her campaign manager. Running for office, seeing someone run for office is a very
Eye-opening.
surreal experience. And this was 20-something years ago.
It was actually 18 years ago, because
Yeah, so-
it was the year I actually got my final job with state government, because I had to tell them that I was running for office at the time, and they almost didn't hire me, because if I had gotten the office, it would have taken me away from the job.
But, it all worked out. It
Yes.
all worked out. Okay,
So-
my turn.
Your turn.
My turn. So the weird reason that I write is because I'm old. No, but, I've gotten older, and it's kind of sad, actually, I think, in a way, because when I was young, like when I was a teenager and in my 20s, I used to read books like crazy, really thick books. Voraciously. I used to read books because that was my escapism. Not even TV, movies. Movies were good for a couple of hours, but it goes away. But books, especially thick books, were good for days for me, because and as Cece will tell you, I used to leave these books all over the house. I'd be reading like 2 or 3 at a time.
We had it at the time. We didn't. When we were first married, we didn't have a lot of furniture of our own. We didn't have bookshelves.
Yeah.
So one corner of our bedroom, we had stacks of boxes of books.
Yeah.
And a lot of your books, actually, I think it was mostly your books, and you actually got me reading a bunch of different authors. So I can vouch for that.
And the books of choice at the time, and this will automatically get how old it is. When I was trying to think of this podcast for 3 books, is Winds of War by Herman Wouk, The Godfather by Mario Puzo, and Shogun by James Clavell. Those were my 3 go-to books when I needed to just get away. And if y'all know anything about books, they're
thick.
They're fairly good. And we still have those around the house, and they're also on my phone. All 3 of those books are on my phone too. But as I've gotten older, it's gotten harder and harder to read to escape. And like I said, movies are only good for an hour or so. I was used to periods of escape where, I would either work or I would do, chores or something like that for X number of hours, and then I could read for X number of hours and just be, into these books, like Gettysburg. Oh gosh, what's the book? I'm spacing on the book, that the fictional book now, by that the Gettysburg movie was based on. Angels and Devils or something. No, not that book.
No. I know it's something.
But
Angels,
and I'll remember it after the podcast is over. But it's books like those that used to take me away. Not anymore. They don't serve that function anymore, because sometimes I get caught up in the craft of writing, so I will critique the writing. Oh, It is another good example. Stephen King.
Oh, yes.
His biggest book is another example. But get caught up in the craft of writing. Get up to see how the writer does the scenes and everything like that, and see if I can incorporate it into my craft. So books just not providing that escape anymore. Writing, on the other hand, Cece will tell you, is we set timers on our computers so we get up and walk around, because we don't do that. We don't get up and walk around.
Especially not him.
Because once I get into it, I'm deep into it. With my cochlear implants, I can Bluetooth music straight in there, so I can lock out the world, so I can hear nothing but music, but I will hear nothing. And then, I will hide behind my 2 monitors there, and I will just, for hours on end, bury myself in a universe or in a world or in a relationship that I created, a fictional world, universe, fictional relationship that I created, and I can just craft that, or I can write that out. So writing for me, there's always, the usual reasons why I write, but for me, writing, as I've gotten older, is now that distraction from the real world that I can't find in other places, especially since, don't drink, don't do 420, don't do any of that stuff. So I can't escape that way, or I don't escape that way. So it's complete, writing books is my escape now.
And the books that JT mentioned, at the time they were published, I remember specifically, I believe it's called trade paperback size. So they were smallish books. They were really thick. and the font was tiny. I mean, these were not only thick books, but they were densely written. There was a lot of text in there. And as you were talking about this, it occurred to me that that must have been what the authors were doing, you know, because they were so deeply immersed to have written that much of that story that, and I'm sure probably most authors will say that we write to escape things because it is a form of escapism. Because, as I said, I'm trying to make sense of the world, so I'm maybe remaking the world in the way I want it to be, if that makes sense. But it's a definitely an interesting kind of
dynamic
differences in our, I guess we both do it for the same reasons, but we don't quite approach it the same way.
Yeah,
because obviously I can't tune out the world that way.
Yeah, it's a different dynamic for both of us. So obviously the question that we laid up to is, if you're watching this podcast and you're so inclined, if you want to reply back and say, hey, you guys are full of hooey. I don't even know how to spell that word, H-O-O-E-Y.
That would be how I spell it.
Okay. Or do you, what are the reasons that you write? And we're not looking for the common reasons. We're looking for unusual reasons why, you know, it's so unusual why you write the way you write. So give it a shot. Let us know, because we're kind of curious that way. But, you know, create some communication between us. And again, you know, we can say that, you know, John Smith, who wrote these series of books, you know, replied back to us. And we'll do that.
We'll be happy to do that. And it gives us something else to talk about too, because we have very similar thought processes. We have a lot of shared experiences. We did a silly couples quiz the other night where it was probably meant for couples who have just met, just gotten together.
Yeah, 36 questions.
We could answer each other's questions like, you know, there was nothing new. Yeah. So we know each other so well. And even though we do approach things differently, we kind of understand how we each approach our different processes.
Okay, we're actually, this podcast went by so fast.
Well, they usually do.
Yeah, this one went by so fast, so we're actually going to have to wrap this up because we want to get it up there. So, so here comes the commercial, as always. So if you want to check out our books, if you want to check out our award-winning podcast, I have to say that every single time.
He doesn't. Yeah, I was joking with him. No, I was
www.carsonhume.com. And, you know, check us out, check out our books, and let us know what you think, because as we always say, feedback makes us better writers, and it makes us better human beings. Quickly, any last words?
From Tundra to Tiara, I am trying a kind of an experiment for Christmas. If anybody watches Love Actually, the Uncle Billy storyline, I'm trying to get our festering turd of a book to be something for Christmas. I don't know, not a hit maybe, but if somebody buys a copy or two, that'd be awesome. So follow our social media and you'll see me doing ridiculous things to promote our book From Tundra to Tiara that we co-wrote.
Okay, we're done. We got to go. We got to run. So y'all take care of yourself. Be here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Over there, CC.
And over there's JT.
We love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.